Guild Wars, Sea of Sorrows. Chapter 39. Grim Svard stood with one foot on the deck of the Balthazar's Trident and the other foot on the deck of the Nomad 2, shoving two long boat hooks down between their hulls. Crew from both ships lined the railing with boat hooks, halberds, and other poles, trying to lever the two ships away from one another. The boards groaned and creaked, but held firm, tangled together. The Norn's muscles bulged, and he shouted encouragement to the sailors, each hand gripping a boat hook scissored between the hulls. The boards cracked slowly apart under the push of his mighty strength. "She's taking on water," Adair noted, lending his strength to the task. "The Nomad's sinking." The prince labored side by side with his sailors, ignoring the fact that his golden sleeves were torn, and his elegant silk shirt was stained with blood and salt water. "That's the least of our worries," retorted Kobaya. "If the maw hits, we'll be dead long before she can pull us down." He could see Livia issuing subtle orders to the Shining Blade and noted that they were readying one of the rear lifeboats without commentary. He snorted. If the maw struck their ship, Adair would likely be spirited away in a wink of Livia's magic, with or without the prince's consent. But as for the rest of them... "There it is," a sailor pointed. The maw broke the surface of the ocean on the far side of the Nomad 2, its fin splitting the waves in the shadow of the drifting ships. The monster circled, drawing ever closer, and Kobaya could almost sense it, deciding how best to attack the enticing morsel drifting in the waves. The maw rose before them, its massive teeth pulling apart as its jaws opened, revealing the enormous depth of the Leviathan's mouth. Sailors on the Balthazar's Trident screamed in terror as they desperately tried to free the galleon from the Nomad 2's sinking grip. "If I can get to the Nomad's cannons, I can try to shoot inside its mouth. Maybe hit something vital. I might hurt it enough to make it change its path." Kobaya tried to limp forward, forcing his battered body to carry him onward one last time. But Aisei kept her hands on his shoulders, and the gentle restraint was enough to pull him back. "It won't make a difference, Kobe," Aisei whispered, pressing her face to Kobaya's chest. "Oh, gods. I don't want it to end like this. Dane." Kobaya pressed his hand to her hair, pulling Aisei close and holding her tightly. "No, I have to tell you." Aisei stepped back, meeting his eyes. "Dane's your son, Kobaya. I was pregnant when I left Lion's Arch. After he was born, I kept him from you because I was angry that you didn't give me a chance to explain. I wanted to say something, but..." Tears poured down her cheeks. "I should have. You're his father, Kobe, and I love you." Overwhelmed, Kobaya bowed his head and kissed her, tears salting their lips. He stroked Asai's hair without words. Whatever happened, no matter how short their lives were, he never intended to let her go again. To the side of the Balthazar's Trident came a rumble that swiftly turned into a roar. Kobaya raised his head in confusion, staring as the Pride raced past the conjoined ships, so close that the churning of her engine blew up a salt spray that drenched the deck of the tremendous galleon. "Matches pushed the engine into overdrive," Kobaya said, marveling, recognizing the sound. With her engine booming, the Pride bored past, swerving and weaving on a trajectory that would take her directly toward the maw. "Matcha can't crew the ship alone," Kobaya said numbly. "What's she doing? It must be out of control." "I don't think she plans to go far, Kobaya," Aisei breathed. As they watched, the Pride slid in front of the Balthazar's Trident. Her hardy engine blew sparks in her wake, and her keel lifted up off the water as she crested the bay's rolling waves. The maw's mouth was splayed open before her, ready to swallow the pinnace whole on its way toward the two foundering vessels. That Leviathan's too big to take down with cannons. Still, I'm a genius first class, and as usual, I've got an idea. "What? Matcha? What are you doing?" Kobaya said aloud, not caring that the sailors on the Balthazar's trident were staring at him in confusion. I'm sorry, Kobe. It wasn't supposed to end this way. I just wanted to balance the etheric transference between our spirits within the eternal alchemy. To pay my dues. Masha, he yelled, clutching Isaiah close and watching as the pride raced ever faster toward the massive sea monster. A second later, the pinnace plowed directly into the wide-jawed mouth of the maw. The clipper drove into the back of the Leviathan's throat, engine thrumming with immense power. As he watched in horror, something within the pride's hold caught fire. Goodbye, the ship exploded. Stunned and wounded by the detonation, the maw could do nothing to save itself. The forefront of the behemoth erupted in the blast, body lashing helplessly as its head and neck were blown apart. Reduced to headless flesh and shattered bone, the monster thrashed in the waves, its death throes churning the sea to red and white foam. Grief tinged Kobaya's words. She knew that engine as well as I did, as well as Sikok's. It had to be deliberate. She turned the pride into a bomb. She killed the maw, Isaiah said wonderingly. Matcha saved us. But why? He pulled her closer, wrapping his cloak around them both. She said she wanted to make things right, and she gave her life to do it. Kobaya watched the vast body of the Leviathan sinking into the waves at the mouth of Sanctum Harbor. Matcha died to defeat the enemies of Lion's Arch. Kobaya looked up at the morning sky, breathing in the scent of the sea and the faint smell of smoke and oil. Remembering what the Asarad said, Kobaya continued. She paid her dues. Let her be honored as a hero. Isai nodded in agreement, a sad smile curving her full lips. Although his body ached and his legs felt like collapsing, Isai was warm within his arms, and the world finally felt at peace. Farewell, little angel, Kobaya whispered, though whether he was speaking to Matcha or to the spirit of his sister, he wasn't sure. Thank you for watching over me.